I'm back. What's good, Outlaws? It's your boy, the True 777. I am back. As I said, the hurricane hit Georgia really hard. I had no power for a good 7 to 8 days, but that's nor here or there. Nor I am not asking for any condolences. It wasn't that big of a deal. Besides the fact it was extremely hot, and without no air conditioning, no fans, no ceiling fans, it was rough. Now you will see on the channel I have a short when the storm just started and you can see the street. I didn't even notice in the video, but you can see the video's longer, but I clipped it for a short. And you can see the street had just started to flood already. As well as you can see a second video, which probably be the first video, where you can see I had when my power went out, which I thought was funny while I was recording the video. And yes, I have a raincoat on, people, 100%, because I had the most amazing dad joke that I put in the video, which was I there's a hurricane going outside, i.e., why I have a raincoat on, but I'm going to war on the inside with this video, i.e., why it's army fatigue. Huh? Huh? It's a dad joke. People laugh, man. You know what I'm saying? Laugh at the fact, laugh at me, or laugh at the joke. It don't really matter. It's just for you to laugh and have fun. That's what this channel's for. I even, was doing character things. I did my terrible Macho Man impression. Oh yeah, Mean Gene. You know what I'm saying? And was having a blast with my character and the characters I had played. But I decided I'm not going to do exactly what I was going to do with that video. So sorry, Nuke, my son, my actual child in real life. I was going to do a video where I was going to debate a video my son had presented to me, a guy named VG Flight Schools, but I was like, I really don't care about that stuff. I realized he was just a fanboy that's quote unquote a PC guy. He happened to just truly be a fanboy. And I'll prove my point. Give me a second. Watch this. Well, as you can see here, if you read the titles and you pause it and you want to see it better, it's just a bunch of like PlayStation's terrible, Xbox's phenomenal videos. And yet he says he's not a fanboy. He's a fanboy. You know what I'm saying? He's a PC guy. Xbox refugee is really what it is. And I'm not really here to debate him. I just wanted to prove my point. I could literally screenshot a lot of his channels. At least for the last 3 months, I watched some video my son sent me, and then I watched maybe like a good 10 videos after that, because he'll put up like 6 or 7 PlayStation hate videos, and or PlayStation's trash, not hate, PlayStation's trash videos, and that they can't compete with Microsoft, and everything Microsoft is doing is great. And he has this whole like, I'm a messiah of Xbox and PlayStation, and I'm here to save the PlayStation fanboys from themselves, which literally is the dumbest thing I ever heard. Just being honest with you, I don't know how any other way to place it. So, you're not saving a fanboy from themselves. If a fanboy wants to change, they'll change. It ain't nothing you're going to say or do to change it, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, or PC. It's nothing you're going to say or do. So yeah, if you looked at it, I put up the proof. Just pause the video and look at the titles, and look how like in the very first video, in just like a radius of maybe 24 hours, it was like 5 videos that literally, if you go watch, are like PlayStation's trash, bad, or can't compete with Xbox for whatever his reasonings are, right? And these are just the facts. He's not hating. It's just what the truth is, and you have to understand the truth. And he also talks about data points, and it's like you don't put any data points up in most of your videos. Like, you just say a bunch of stuff. With that being the case, it made me realize he's not the only one. You got finally remember his name, Boomstick, and then Hargraves, or whatever his name is, and the dude with the glasses that be on Boomstick thing, would that be with the chick in the Xbox community. And it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of what they say copium. I don't really say that, but copium, or there's a lot of BSing going on, really. People just be welling. They just be welling to be welling, and it's like, it's unnecessary. So I just wanted to clear up some things on the PlayStation side so people could understand that PlayStation ain't perfect by no means. And they're gone through their flux, and I want to point some things out on that for the PlayStation fans too, and just give people who want to have a serious dialogue about gaming the truth. You know what I mean? So I wanted to start out with kind of a history lesson, right? And I'm not going to go back to it. You can go get by the gaming book or watch other document videos if you want to know like the exact history of gaming. But the one thing I do want to talk about first is Sony has always had their first party exclusives. We all know this. But for those that don't know, Sony is a back half exclusive team. What I mean by that is they put their best exclusives, whether it's a sequel or the best new idea that usually catches on for a long period of time, typically, not always, typically in the back half of any generation. Okay? When you're looking at that, if you pay attention, usually they put out exclusives throughout the whole generation. But the newest ideas, the best versions of sequels, typically come at the tail end. I'll show you. So here we have a comprehensive list of all PlayStation exclusives, whether first, second, third, license, so forth and so on. Within 1995 to 96, you had Jumpin' Flash, Twisted Metal, Wipeout, and Warhawk. You can kind of see them all at the bottom, right? In the very next year, which would be the second year of PlayStation 1, you had Two Extreme, Jet Moto, Jumping Flash 2, Twisted Metal 2, Wipeout 2. Now that would be the first half of Sony PlayStation. Within the third year, which is 97, you have Jump Moto 2. Okay, so that's starting the halfway point. I'll put up a picture later on after I'm done with this where Jet Moto 2 started. Within year four, okay, after 97, where you get to 98, you have Everybody's Golf, which is a second-hand game like Helldivers, right? You have Gran Turismo, Medieval, NFL Extreme, Twisted Metal 3, okay? Not to mention that at this current juncture, Sony is making, from I think 95 on, they have made MLB 90, 90 whatever year, NFL Game Day, and NHL Face Off, and all their sports games they were making every year. Now, in their final year of the PlayStation 1, they had 3 Extreme, Ape Escape, Jet Moto 3, Siphon Filter 1 and 2, Twisted Metal 4, Everybody's Golf 2, Legend of Dragoon, Medieval 2, and then you move on to the PlayStation 2, where you get right here. And if you're looking, I'm going towards the end of the PlayStation 2. I'll kind of jumped ahead because I didn't want to take all day. But in the early years, you had like Gran Turismo 3 and Twisted Metal Black. You had Setcom, you had Getaway, you had Twisted Metal Black Online. But once you get to the final years of the PlayStation 2, which you can pause whenever you need and look at this list, you get to things like the iToy, Ape Escape, EverQuest Online. You get with their first online game from Sony themselves. You get to Ape Escape, another Ape Escape. You get to Everybody's Golf. You get to Setcom. You get Gran Turismo 4, Killzone, SingStar, Getaway, Siphon Filter 3, God of War 1 and 2. Right? Um, and if you just hear that, right, you're like, well, what are you talking about? And that was my point. If you're looking at just PlayStation 1, when we went through the list, and you can pause it at any given time, and you were to look at the list, like if you're looking at it, PlayStation 1 has some solid games up front in the first 2.5 years. So 2 years and 6 months would be the beginning point, right? And then those 2 years and 6 months, you got Jumpin' Flash, you had Twisted Metal, Wipeout, Warhawk, 2 Extreme, Jet Moto, Jumpin' Flash 2, Twisted Metal 2, and Wipeout 2. But if you look at the second half of PlayStation's thing, which one would you rather have? You got Jet Moto 2, you got Everybody's Golf, Gran Turismo, Medieval, and NFL Extreme. You got the sports games in all the years, okay? But you got now the Blitz type NFL game that came out within the fourth year, and you got Twisted Metal 3. Then in your fifth year, you got 3 Extreme, Ape Escape, Jet Moto 3, Siphon Filter 1 and 2, Twisted Metal 4, Everybody's Golf 2, Legend of Dragoon, Medieval 2. Do you get what I'm saying? Sony has always kind of dropped most of their exclusives, the higher number amount, the better versions of the sequels, and the newest and freshest ideas that usually take on a life of their own for some time. Not all the time. Like Medieval only went like I think 3 games. Jet Moto 2 and 3 were the better sequels to 1. Siphon Filter 1 and 2. Twisted Metal 3 and 4. Were definitely better than one and two. While one and two were great. Legend of Dragoon, which took on a life of its own but never got a sequel. You got Everybody's Golf, which isn't made by them. That's their Hell Divers. And you got their stream games, which weren't that great, to be honest with you, right? Comparable to the Wipeouts, which is a great game back then, and your Warhawks, which had a sequel but didn't pick up. That one comes and goes. As Zane Jumping Flash had a sequel, but like y'all weren't really checking for Jumping Flash. Let's be honest. So really, you had Twisted Metal, Wipeout, and Jet Moto. So you see what I'm saying by the back end of what I'm trying to get at with the back end of what I'm speaking on. And then if you turn around with the PlayStation 2, it's very similar. You had Gran Turismo in the first year with Twisted Metal Black, and then in the second year you had Setcom, which is amazing. That's the first version of Setcom, and then the Getaway, which is also an amazing game, right? And like you can see, oh, Twisted Metal Online. But then you get to the third year and you get your second Ape Escape, you get your third Ape Escape, you get your EverQuest Online, you get the iToy and their games, you get your Everybody's Golf 4, um, your Satcom 2, your Gran Turismo 4, your Killzone, your SingStar, your Getaway 2, your Siphon Filter 3, your God of War 1 and 2. Um, there's another game in there I'm missing that I can't think of at this current juncture. Uh, and then even if you look at like PlayStation 3, it's the same thing. I'm not saying that you don't get some of your cooler games in the beginning. I'm not saying that all the greatest games come out at the end. I'm saying they always backloaded their exclusives, and typically that's where you get some of the most popular exclusives when they're new IP, and you get the best versions of a game with the sequels in the back later half. So the ones that are most prominent, i.e., God of War 1 and 2, are amazing, but God of War 3 at the end of the PlayStation 3 era is considered one of the best God of Wars of all time. Like there's people that'll argue that back and forth, but my point is that a lot of people would agree that God of War 3 was that game, right? And it's even better than 2018, so forth and so on. There are people that will argue that, right? Um, you get Uncharted, but then Uncharted 2, 3, and 4, they get better each one. I think it was 2 that people felt, or 3, one of them people felt was a little off story-wise and so forth and so on, but you get the point. Um, Gran Turismo 5 was one of the better Gran Turismos. You know what I mean? Although it came to a dying platform in the PlayStation 3. Dance Star, Move Fitness, these all came out. A lot of times they come out with their technology add-ons towards the end of the generation, i.e. the iToy, i.e. the Move controllers, the Wonder Book. Whether they catch on or not, they usually drop it now. Um, with the PlayStation 4, VR came later. Now with the PlayStation 5, because VR is a part of the PlayStation's ecosystem, and they're still going to have another VR with the PlayStation 6. My opinion, I cannot prove that, right? Um, they will have another VR. You know what I'm saying? It'll be another VR with the PlayStation 6 or VR 3, PSVR 3, and when you get that going, that will probably be more in the beginning. You know what I mean? But typically, they usually come out even with their tech at the end of the generation. Um, like I said, even on the PlayStation 3, you got Little Big Planet 2, Infamous 2, Killzone 3, um, Move, Uncharted 3, Starhawk. You had God of War Ascension. You had Gran Turismo 6. You had The Last of Us, Wonder Book. Last of Us is one of their best games. People love Uncharted 3. Starhawk didn't make it. That's play on the Warhawk series that PlayStation has. Move, Fitness, Dance Stars didn't catch on. That's fine. But like I said, you got Mag, Gran Turismo 5 and 6, Gran Turismo 3, God of War 3. Little Big Planet 2 was definitely a bigger jump on 1. Infamous 2 for me, and I'm an Infamous fan, that is a better version of Infamous 1, although Infamous 1 is a great game. God of War Ascension is a great God of War. Last of Us is great. You know what I mean? When you look at the back half of PlayStation 4, it's Horizon Zero Dawn, Gran Turismo Sport, Everybody's Golf, which was Hot Shots Golf when I was calling it Everybody's Golf. I meant to say it was Hot Shots Golf back then. Um, Knack, Star Blood Arena, God of War 2018, Spider-Man 2018, Dreams, Days Gone, Concrete Genie. Blood and Truth, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2. So that's just me proving my point that they back they are they backlog they come at the tail end of their generations with most of their heavy hitters, whether it be sequels or new IP. That's not me hating. That's me. We're already looking at it, and they have typically the most IP dropped. Not all the time, but typically towards the tail end of the generation. So whatever the halfway point is, like right now we're at the halfway point for PlayStation 4, whether it goes to 2007 or 2008. I know a lot of people are really hoping for 2028, and there's some people that aren't. You know what I mean? But the people that like me hoping for 2028 to be the where the PlayStation 6 comes out, then this would mean that 2025 coming up, 6, 7, and 8 is where they will drop, their best sequels, best versions of their sequels, or their most, unique new IPs. And it's looking like that probably is going to be the case. Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yote, um, you know, Fair Games, Marathon, Wolverine, and whatever else everybody else is working on. And it seems like it'll all come out within the next 3 to 4 years, and it will continue the Sony's trend of doing that. But if we looked at the list, I'm gonna put it back up here really quick. Um, like you're looking at this list, right? You see things like Grandia, Star Ocean, Spiral the Dragon, Ridge Racer, and R-Type, and all these games that Sony partnered with to have exclusively on their platform. When has Sony not money had it? Just moving on to the next subject, which is people keep complaining about money hat like it's a bad thing just because people like VG Flight Schools and other Xbox are now hurting because their brand isn't doing that. It's not that it's bad, it's their brand isn't doing that. And then Phil came out and Xbox came out and said, hey, let's do this We Are the World stuff, which that's not what they want, but they champion that because it makes whatever makes PlayStation look bad is what they're going for. And you got a lot of stuff that you can use to make PlayStation look bad. That ain't one of them. I don't know why that is where you chose to stand and dig your roots in, because it's unnecessary untruth. You know what I mean? Like money hadn't has always been a part of the industry, whether it's Sony, Nintendo, like people that really want to get into this. Nintendo used to have this Nintendo's quality seal of approval, which kind of saved gaming, but you couldn't get that seal of approval unless you were exclusive to Nintendo, and that's how they kind of eradicated all the 20 to 30 different other systems that y'all don't even know about that were out there. Yeah, exclusives and money hatting is legitimately been a thing since its inception. Like, stop this. And Xbox is still a part of the money hatting game. They just don't money hat the games that you guys care about. And that's just what the reality is. That's not me hating. That's what the facts are. What do you think Stalker 2 is? What do you think Ascension was? What do you think the Medium was? The timed exclusives, the same thing Sony is doing. Now all of a sudden it's bad. Now all of a sudden it's not working. Now all of a sudden it's killing games. Like you have people talking about, oh, well, Final Fantasy did bad. It's like, are y'all paying attention to Square Enix? Colin said this best on R3 Click, or the Spawn Wave and Mystic. I think it's called R3 Click. Um, their channel, where he was just like, every Square Enix doesn't fails to meet expectations, even the ones that are multi-plat. Are y'all like paying attention? Like, that's not me trying to take away from anything or make PlayStation a good guy. Like, watch this. As a PlayStation guy, I can be honest. I was saying this on 60 Frames No Lag the last time I was on there, like, yo, on the 300 episode, like, yo, I believe that Jim Ryan was also tired of traveling. But I also think after more information came out that he also was pushed out. I don't think he was fired, like just straight up fired, but I 100% truly do believe he was pushed out. I believe that, like, he was tired. They were like, yo, you got to, he was like, this is too much on me. And they was like, it didn't matter anyway. We need you to go, because I think Sony absolutely panicked and bought Bungie. I think Sony absolutely panicked and bought Firewalk. I think Sony absolutely made a bunch of uh, stupid decisions out of fear of Microsoft buying up the industry and them not wanting to spend the money. So for those that don't understand, Sony could buy whoever they want, the same way as Microsoft. They can't go about it the same way as Microsoft, but they can buy whoever they want. Um, but they didn't want to put themselves in that position, so they panicked and bought what they could, and it didn't make sense to Sony. Now, those are bad decisions. Sony upping the price on Horizon Zero Dawn at the last minute so that people couldn't, get away with buying the cheaper version. While I don't care, it's a crummy move. You know what I mean? Take the hit. They could take the hit on that, but they're not trying to take any hits anymore, anywhere. And that brings out a crummier side of Sony. So, yes, that's crummy, right? Is it bad though? No. Them having a $700 pro model, you know, no, don't really care. I mean, them going up on the original PlayStation price, that's crummy. You know what I mean? That's trash. That to me is like, no, take the hit there, Sony. Stop being greedy. You know what I mean? Take a hit somewhere. Show the people that you still have some love for them, but they don't. They're a corporation, and at no time, this is what I do appreciate about Sony. At no time do they ever have me confused on the corporation relationship. But there's times where it's like, even though you're a corporation, you can show the people that support the company and the products a little bit of love by taking some hits. But Sony is just on some next stuff because Xbox put up a peace treaty that Sony is now taking advantage of. So that's where I'm at. Like I'm um, not confused. Sony has made a bunch of terrible mistakes. I think their live service thing wasn't a mistake in the sense of they shouldn't have did it. But them going all in and putting all their studios and all their effort into um, making um, live service the forefront really hurt them. That's why it's taking them so long to get these single player games out that people really want. Why some of these single player games I think will be what they're supposed to be, but will take an exponentially longer time to make happen. Um, so yeah, I'm looking at that and I'm going, that's Sony's fault. You know what I mean? Those are not good decisions. But they're it's the difference is it's okay because Sony is still doing things to make up for that. So the money had in deals that you guys cry about, that's what they do. But if we looked at that, like how we looked at that list, Sony's been doing that since its inception. It's nothing new. The gaming industry is still doing it. Xbox is still doing it. They just don't do it with games that matter to you guys. We keeping it legitimately factual. Yeah, I would have no problem if Final Fantasy Rebirth was on Xbox exclusive because Xbox money had it, and especially in Game Pass. I would have no problem if Helldivers was exclusive to Xbox. I would not be talking about no money hat. You just be going, ha ha, you ponies, take that, we win, we got some get back. But because Xbox is choosing the money hat games that are cool and could be fun, but are not games that move the needle or games that bring attention to the brand, it's like, well, let's make Sony look bad. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, we gotta make Sony look bad by saying that Money Hatton's bad. And Phil Spencer made that a thing, and y'all ran with it, which is fine. Um, but yeah, Sony's not doing anything, and Money Hatton will still be a thing. So don't get that twisted. Sony will absolutely 100% still get Square Enix exclusives. Yep, yep. Y'all gonna be shocked. Will they get as many? Probably not. Which is a good thing for Square Enix, because Square Enix is a little delusional at this current juncture, like with what they think they should be making and stuff. Their products don't hold the same weight. It just don't. It's just what the facts are. And this is, Squaresoft used to be my favorite company. Then they merged with Enix, and they were, still up there. They fell off a little bit to me, and they still got some of the best games that I had from my childhood, my teenage years, really teenage years, and childhood. You know what I mean? So um, I understand, the fanboy war, but I'm not fanboy warring. I'm just speaking on things that are factual. So, yeah, Sony has always money had it. You could see on them lists how many games Sony money had it comparable to their first party exclusives. It was extensive. They went their third year, something similar to this generation where they only had Spider-Man 2, but then they had a bunch of games to fill in the blanks with the money hat. Same thing with the first year of PlayStation. They had Jet Moto 2. That was it. Everything else was an exclusive. All their great, and they had a bunch of fire games in that generation or in that year from PlayStation 1. They had a bunch of fire games, but what are we looking at? We're being factual. It was only one game from PlayStation Studios. Well, of course, they had sports games back then. They made sports games every year, so that's incorrect. But we're talking about like single player. It was actually just Jet Moto 2, not even single player. With just Jet Moto 2, they had their four sports games. I think it was four at the time, so they had five single player games. But majority, but if you look at that list from that year, they had like I think it was like almost 50 exclusives, and only five of them were PlayStation first party. That's my point. Now, as far as um, what else I wanted to talk about, give me a second. Let's look at this list. Yes, I wrote this stuff down because I didn't want to go on tangents and not, lose my point. Um, Sony has also produced exclusives the same way. Definitely want to talk about that because people are like, Helldivers 2, it's not a first party game. It's not a first party game. I know the fanboy stuff go to both sides' head. So, that's why I said I just want to talk facts. I don't want to talk no fanboy stuff. When you're looking at it, how do you think Spiral came about? How do you think Crash Bandicoot came about? Which were linked and akin to Sony. People would have thought back then in the PlayStation 1 and stuff era and PlayStation 2 era that these games were 100% Sony exclusives, and they weren't. Or they were exclusives, excuse me, Sony first party exclusives, but they weren't. They were Sony second party deal they got with the studio. They had the studio make those games, and they got the exclusive rights to them for however many years, and Sony owned the IP, right? But then they sold the IP to somebody else, and that's how Crash is now on their Xbox and Spiral's on the Xbox because they sold those IP to other people, right? But they never made Crash, they never made Spiral, but they were the ones who made it popular. They were the ones who paid to have it made, and they own the IP. Now, if we look here, you will see in the first paragraph it says made, it was developed by From Software, right? But it was under the supervision of Japan Studios. That's the same thing with Hot Shots Golf and SingStar. Um, well, SingStar was made by PlayStation, but Japan Studios was like supervising it. But it was made by a PlayStation first party studio. But the point is, if you look at Demon Souls, everybody thinks it's FromSoft. It's FromSoft. Japan Studios was just as much a part of that game as FromSoft. Um, and Sony used to do that as well, where it's like, okay, you make the game, and our team will help you with some of the maybe technical engineering specs, also with supervision and management and things like that. And that's just as important to the game as the development of the game, because that's a part of development. You have game managers, art directors, and things like that. So Sony has always done things where their first party studios are part of the development. They're just not the whole development. So um, I wanted the people to understand like Helldivers isn't anything new. They've been doing the Helldivers thing for quite some time. Everybody's Golf, Demon Souls, um, SingStar is within the studios, but it's several, just two studios working together. So it's Japan Studios and somebody else. I couldn't remember it, but it's another first party studio. But the point about it is they do whatever is necessary to come up with their creative games, whether it's like work with somebody and then also make sure they don't that they're not doing it by just their sales by just paying for exclusivity. Sometimes that's how they come about the exclusivity is they work as a team. So that just explains money having things. I also wanted to talk about like Boomstick. I think that's his name. I forgot already. But Boomstick, he was saying like he had to do with the glasses on. I can't remember what his name is. I think he's Hispanic, and he was saying something about like, well, now that the Pro is out, the Xbox Series X won't be held back, and these third party developers will be able to make the game 60 frames since PlayStation is the one that was holding everything back. And I'm just like, okay, look, lying is just like ridiculous within the fanboy
community on either side. It's annoying. It's unnecessary. Um, the reality is, right, you cannot blame third party if your first party doesn't do games at 60 frames per second. Your first party has no excuses. Redfall was 30. You know what I'm saying? Um, what else? Starfield was 30. You know what I'm saying? People are like, well, Indiana Jones, yeah, and Avowed is a juicy 30. You see what I'm saying? Indiana Jones absolutely made sense. I knew it was going to be 60 from the jump, right? But if you go on 60 frames, no lag, I was explaining to them what Indiana Jones was. Go not the 300 episode, go like 3 or 4 episodes back. Go, it's a few episodes back, maybe 2 or 3 months back. If you go find it where they talk about Indiana Jones, I was literally telling them when I first saw the trailer, I understood what Indiana Jones was, and I said they're going to keep this akin to the movie, where it's mostly about puzzles, research, cinematics, and then they'll have big set piece fighting scenes or running platforming scenes in first person. That's what it was going to be, and I was 100% right when they finally came out and explained that's exactly what it is. And if that's the case, then it's not going to be hard for that to run at 30 because you're not going to be doing a lot that requires the frame rate to be an issue. Okay, and regardless of that fact, I'm proud of that team for being able to get it at 60 because whether it's easy or not, they still were able to do it because I think Redfall should have been 60 from jump, right? Um, but yeah, your first party games and a lot of third party exclusive games aren't 60 or higher. You know what I mean? There are some that get it done, and there's a lot that don't. So then, what's the excuse then? You can't say, "Well, third party is a thing because of PlayStation." If your first party is struggling with that, if third party exclusives that aren't even on PlayStation are also struggling with that, that doesn't even make any quantifiable sense. Like it doesn't, right? Um, and I still believe the Xbox to be the Xbox Series X to be the stronger machine. I truly, can't prove, but there's more facts towards this that the Series X is really where Xbox messed up. It isn't PlayStation, it isn't as the Xbox Series X, it's the Series S. Is why y'all are getting what you get. You know what I mean? That's why things are getting held back. Things like split screen, and then Xbox not having the funding at this current juncture to answer the indie games because at one point in time they were better for it, and now all of a sudden they are not, right? Um, so yeah, I just wanted to speak towards that for a quick second. What else do we got on the docket? Okay, time played. I want this to be understood because even Tank Top Master, aka Dark 1985, brings this up. And he's trying to, a lot of people bring this up, including PlayStation fans, and I don't think y'all understand how this works, right? Understand that playtime, okay, is or the playtime when people think that Fortnite is the most played game, FIFA, these are the most played games. You are correct. But there was an article that was trying to explain to you guys that single player games are still the most played games on PlayStation. And then y'all saw that chart and y'all was like, nope, it's FIFA, it's Madden, it's 2K, it's Madden 2K, Grand Theft Auto, it's Fortnite. And it's like, yes, hours played for a single game, that is the most played, right? But I'll prove my point in just 2 seconds. That may be the most played by one game. That doesn't mean that it's the most played across PlayStation. So, and within 1 year, somebody like me who plays Madden, 2K, Apex, Rainbow Six Siege, right? Those are like my online experience. Oh, Dead by Daylight, Fall Guys, things like that, right? I may have like 300 hours in Apex for the year, right? That would be my most played game, period. But my single player experiences eclipses that, meaning I'll have like 400, let's say I have 489 hours in Apex, okay? Let's say another 300 hours in Madden, okay? So we got what 789 hours in total, right? So you'd be like, bam, you buy a PlayStation for multiplats? No, because when you look at my Forspoken time, I got like 200 hours. And then you add that to Cyberpunk, which I got like 250 hours. Then you add that to the Ascension, right? Chains of Ascension, right? Like an RPG, and then you get like 100 hours from there, and then 100 hours from there, right? So let's say Ascension, I got like 100 hours, and then I play something like Midnight Suns, which is a single player game. Midnight Suns, I played for like 250 hours. I am already at the point of where my two Apex and Madden time combined are. Not to mention, you add in like Lost Spear, which is like 100 hours. You add in like Horizon Forbidden West, which you get like another 150 hours. And within the year, I have factually played maybe like 1,500 hours of gaming, right? 800 of that, about close to 789, right? 789 of that is, uh, Madden Apex. But if you want to, three, four, the other, 800 or 1,600 or whatever, I'll show you. Let me just show you. So as you can see here, 2022, I had 2,081 hours in gaming. Okay, I am retired, so I have way more time on my hands than you do. But you can see it, and you can see my top five games were Apex Legends, Madden, Horizon Zero West, Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, and WW2K for the PlayStation 5. Right? You see, I had 211 hours in Madden, 293 in Apex. Let's just round up to 500, right? Out of 2,081 hours. Gran Turismo, I had 103. Horizon, I had like 151. And WWE 2K, I had a 141. WWE 2K, I think I had like 84. Well, we'll see in a second. So 3, 2, 1, 84 hours, okay? That's played. That means that just within that alone, I have like, I don't know, 200, 300. So let's round up to about 700 hours in just those five games alone. But the point is, if you go 700, you still got about 14, 1,500 hours left. You still have 14, 15. What was I playing? You know what I'm saying? I have 50 hours in this game, 50 hours in that game. And most of those are single player because I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. I don't play a lot of third party multiplayer games. And like you see, Madden and Apex for that year are my two most prominent games. I only play, like I said, Siege, Madden, uh, Apex, NBA 2K, and Fall Guys and Dead by Daylight. Or Death by Daylight, whatever it's called, right? Death by Daylight, I usually only play in October, factually. I play periodically throughout the years. I may have a total outside of October for Death by Daylight, I may have a total of 5 hours outside of October. In October, I may get like another 20 hours, 30 hours. Usually no more than about 30, 35 hours in total for the year in Dead by Daylight. Okay, so that's not pushing it. What about Fall Guys? Fall Guys is a super short game. I may have a total of 3 or 4 hours in that game in totality. Okay, for the year. So those are my multiplayer games. So what do you think I'm playing outside of that? Like I got Final Fantasy, I got, those games might be 60, 70 hours, but a lot of those games will be anywhere from 30 to 60, 70 hours of me playing, beating, sometimes even platinum in that small time frame for that year. So technically, I may have 200 hours, 84 hours, 211 hours in Apex and stuff like that. I might even have like 50 hours in Siege this year, this 2022. I may even have, the Dead by Daylight, let's say 35 and like 5 hours with Fall Guys. If you add all that in totality, I still have like over 1,000 hours in single player games. That's what they mean when they say that Sony fans and PlayStation players play more single player games than they do multiplayer. It's also showing you that like I can count Gran Turismo and Horizon Forbidden West. You see, I have 100 hours in Gran Turismo. You see, I had in that year I had 141 hours in Horizon Forbidden West. That's more than my Madden time. That's almost equivalent to my Apex time. Do you see what I'm saying? That's equivalent two games. One is a multiplayer from Sony exclusive. The other one is Horizon. Like if I were to go and look up my time frames and like if I could screenshot my time frames for you guys, I don't know if I can, but maybe I'll take pictures and put them up as a short or video as a short. I will show you the amount of hours I have in Sony exclusive games. And I'm not talking about just first party. I'm just saying exclusively to Sony, whether timed or forever or however long. I have the time to show you that I have more time in single player and exclusive games than I do in multi-plats and multiplayer games. I can prove that year in and year out. Hold on, watch this.
So as you can see, this is 2023. My hours have come down. Still retired. They ain't going to change from here on out. But my hours have come down, right? And I like this one better because you can see how many hours I played, right? But you also can get an idea of what game I played the most for that month. So Cyberpunk being the game I played for that month, or like Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark, right? 113 hours, but I played 122 hours. I played 7 games for that month, right? Ghost of Tsushima, you can see the hours. You can see the hours of what games I played the most that month. I played 154 of Marvel's Midnight Sun, edition, enhanced edition. Forspoken, 77 hours out of the 137 hours I played that month. Austra's Ascending, 84. You see what I'm saying? So you get a better idea how I game throughout the thing. Some of them you can't see, but you see I put in 99 hours and Dismantled, and I had 101 game sessions. I guarantee I put in like 200 hours that month. Almost put in 200 hours in September. 67 of those being Sea of Stars, as you can see, 56 in Dragon Ball. So that gives you a more comprehensive view of how I play. But if you see, right, at no time was Apex any real multiplayer game the predominant for that month. And I hope that they continue to do that one. I like that one preferably over uh, the others. But that's just the reality. I just wanted you to see that I'm one example, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other PlayStation gamers that's like that play these exclusives, right? Whether first or third, second, doesn't matter, just exclusives, who play these single player games over the multiplayer, over the things. But the multiplayer will always typically have the most hours in a particular game. So for that year, while within those months, Madden never took the spot. I guarantee you, if you looked at it for the year, Apex has the most hours in that year again. Madden has the most hours, or 2K has the most hours in that year of a single game played, because while it may not be the most prominent game I played that month, you can see within that standard, if you go back and pause, I played several games for that month. I had sessions in that games like Sea of Stars. I was only 67 of 107 hours, so probably the rest of that was in other games, me playing around with some other games, but mainly probably me playing Apex and or Madden or 2K and so forth and so on with all of those games. Each month you see 200 hours probably in the Dismantle. It was probably like 230. I think in that month I played a crap ton. And within that month, you probably will be able to still see exactly what I was saying, which is, while I spent a good 99 hours playing Dismantle, almost probably like 250 hours, I probably spent more playing Apex, or, not more time. I've spent 99 hours, but I maybe played Apex for like a good 30, 40 hours. And each month I'm getting 30, 40 hours comparable to, any other game. And when you add all that up, it comes up to the game I played the most. But I still play single player games more than I ever played any multiplayer game, any prominent one that you can think of. So that was the point I was trying to make. It still can be factually true that single player is the most played games on PlayStation, um, period, PlayStation systems, while also having to understand that the game that has the most hours throughout the whole year will probably be a multi-plat, or one of the top tier forever games. Um, Last thing I'll go into to wrap this up uh, is basically uh, my boy Tank Top Master came out and was like, "Yo, Xbox is genius because they made me buy the game twice." And I was laughing because I was like, "Well, you giving Xbox credence for basically doing you dirty." You know what I'm saying? Y'all lambast Sony for unconsumer like friendly practices, but Xbox did one of the most unconsumer like friendly practices by not allowing you to have your own library and making you to and convincing you to buy it over on PC, and somehow that's conducive. That's where, you don't draw the line there, of course. You know what I mean? But I'm just laughing because I'm like, yeah, that's cool if you're an Xbox fan, but most people aren't Xbox players. So none of that really matters. You know, that you're not buying it twice if you're already on PC because you just stayed on Steam in the first place, and you're not buying it, um, and you're only buying it twice if you're an Xbox fan that gave up on Game Pass. But even then, eventually, that's going to kind of hit you in the face. So that doesn't make sense. Um, at the end of the day, I just wanted y'all to understand that Sony always kind of backloads their exclusives. They're better sequels, or like some of their best ideas on the back half that I factually showed you. You could pause and I broke that down for you. I wanted you to understand that Sony has always money had it, and Sony has always done second party deals. That's where Spiral, Crash, Ratchet and Clank, and all these other games come from. They come from Sony, you know, doing deals with companies to fill in what their first party can't do, because their first party ain't going to produce but so many games in a year. That's just what the facts are. That's not me hating. That's just the truth. When you look at that list, if you pause that list and you see how many games comparable to their first party, you'll be like, oh, they've always done this, so that's nothing new. And the money hadn't isn't going to stop, even with Square Enix. Y'all can kill that noise. Um, like I guarantee you, Kingdom Hearts will be exclusive, at least timed, for sure. Um, the 30 frames thing on Xbox, look, if their first party ain't doing it and the exclusive games that are just dedicated to Xbox ain't doing it, you really ain't got nothing to say. You can't blame PlayStation. Like, you can use it for your little fanboy war, but factually, that doesn't hold any weight when your own first party studios specifically aren't producing games at 60 frames consistently. You know, there's a few games here and there. Um, as far as time played, I've proven with just my data alone that I play more single player games as a retired old man, with grown kids. My kids are probably older than most of y'all, factually. um, this, will watch this. That single player and exclusives are what Sony fans play most. I'm pretty sure that data from that article was not incorrect because I'm one of the examples of that. You can see I played this many hours in the thing, and granted, other people don't have as much time on their hands as I do. You know what I mean? People still have to work to survive. That's fine. No, no, no hate or trying to be funny with that. Just so they may not play as much, but I guarantee you if they played only 600, 400 hours for the year, the point is still stands is that they um, will still probably have more time playing several single players games throughout that time frame than they do having playing Grand Theft Auto or Apex or Call of Duty. If they're a gamer. Now, if they're a person that literally just buys systems to play Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, then come on, man, that's just common. There's people that do that, but I'm talking about the people that buy systems, off of exclusives and things like that. Um, and Xbox isn't like breaking the mold by, um, you know, getting you to be dumb and buy your games all over again because you didn't have a library to begin with. You know what I'm saying? That would work if they were like first place, if they were at least second place, but being in last place, that train holds no weight. So, this is a long-standing video, but it's been a while. I got a couple other videos I got in that process. I'll be a little bit more proficient with. Oh, I wanted to do this. People always say, like talking, they like doing this joint where they be like, oh, features. And I'm doing this off of PlayStation Share Factory, legitimately. I'm doing this off of PlayStation Share Factory right now, where I'm editing, you know what I'm saying, and putting together a full-fledged video. Um, I'm editing and putting together a full-fledged video off of the PlayStation 5 by itself. Share Factory is an editing tool from the PlayStation 5. I can broadcast from the PlayStation 5. There's Share Play, where I can um, basically take something like Until Dawn, the remake, and I can let somebody play that game for about 2 hours before I have to reconnect them, right? Because it's going to disconnect them now. I have to reconnect them, and they can literally beat Until Dawn off of my PlayStation on a PlayStation 4. You know what I'm saying? Like my homegirl has played Spider-Man 2, probably like a good hour. No, I'm lying. Good couple minutes because she said she didn't want to play it till she got her PlayStation 5. But she was able to play like a couple minutes of Spider-Man 2 on my PlayStation. But she could have played it and beat the whole game if I reconnect her every 2 hours. But the point is to let somebody try the game for a good 2 hours at least. And she could have beat the game and played the game or just played a good portion of it in 2 hours. And she only has a PlayStation 4. You know what I'm saying? That's a dope feature. It allows people to really test and enjoy games that on systems they don't have and games they don't have. Of course, it's through cloud and all that stuff, but that's fine. Um, there's also share play where we can play something like Street Fighter. You know what I mean? Like we can play Street Fighter, two players against each other, and you don't even have the game. That's another function of share play. Uh, Not to mention, you can record 60 minutes of video straight from your PlayStation. You can screenshot, edit photos. You can edit videos, as you see what I'm doing right here. Um, I can put like some of my videos where you see me. I can bring them to Share Factory, and it would allow me to edit and do all the little stuff I'm doing. Now, I didn't do much, but you can see I'm adding in, screenshots in different ways and or in like more of a sticker overlay way rather than just putting it in as a straight screenshot. And, I can edit how those come in and all those things. So I think that's pretty dope that we can, that I can do a lot of those things that you can't do on Xbox. Like I said, I can broadcast straight from my PlayStation factually. Um, Broadcasting straight from my PlayStation, a lot, just affords somebody that maybe doesn't have a PC or a laptop that can allow them to do these things to start their YouTube career just off of their PlayStation alone. And then, if they get a big enough base and make a decent amount of money, they can then build to having a proper setup. But it is definitely a good beginner product. It's not the greatest product. It's not the greatest editing tool, but it's good. Um, of course, just like Xbox, we can game share. Now, I will say Xbox has the doper version of game gifting because Xbox, PlayStation don't even have that. And that quick resume is cool. You know what I mean? I don't need it, but it's cool. Now, the, what is it? What is that drink called? The upgrade system that Xbox got is cool in the beginning when you have a lot of great games that need to be upgraded as you get older. But like for real, stop it, bro. I'm not worried about no, that because as the games are just straight Xbox and straight PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, it doesn't matter anymore. It honestly doesn't. So I really don't care. You know what I mean? You can keep it, feel how you want. I think it is a better system for sure. I'll give it credit for being good, but it's not useful. Smart delivery, that's what it's called. Smart delivery isn't really that useful after a certain time period. So, there's that. So, yeah, feature wise, I think PlayStation has a more feature complete setup. People can feel however they want to, but I think just those alone, remote play, um, now that they have the PlayStation Portal, um, remote play and things of that nature.
uh, are pretty cool. I think Xbox has it, of course, remote play, but PlayStation had it since 2006. Um, even I'll talk about this in another video, but even Xbox's whole plan is basically word for word, bar for bar, play for play off of PlayStation, Game Pass, and it being everything, everywhere, and everything. Yeah, I don't really care about that stuff because PlayStation did it first. They implemented it first. They talked about it first. They fully implemented it first, and then it fell off. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Um, I'm almost 60 minutes in. I think I'd have talked enough. I'll make another video on PlayStation Now, comparable to Game Pass. One isn't really better than the other, but who did what first is where I want to have that discussion because we got a lot of Xbox that like are a little lost on thinking that PlayStation is copying Xbox some way, and it's just like, nah, we're gonna talk about network adapters, uh, internet, internet games, all that stuff. You know, we'll talk about that in the next video. But for this video, and even talking about subscription service, and if you know there's a base in the financials. But for right now, I'm your boy, The Truth. I wanted to go ahead and talk some facts. I got to do that. Enjoy your day. I'm out.